All right, now that we're going, let's go on to the next one. All right, as I mentioned, I'm Ronnie, Education Coordinator. Excited to have you guys here for session 9 for our ArcGIS Pro Training Series. These sessions are designed to build on each other, but they're also meant to stand alone. So whether this is your first session on this 9th year, on the 9th session, or this is your first one, you're kind of in the right place because they're, like I said, they will stand alone as well. I also want to point out that these trainings are guided directly by your feedback. The topics we cover and the pace we set are shaped by what you guys tell us, and that is the most helpful. So thank you guys for continuing to share with us on that. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. First, today's session is being recorded. Now it is. The recording along with a reference sheet will be made available on the AACD website after the session. I have posted it there for you now, and there is a library you can click on, and all of our workshops and presentations are there for you guys. Previous session recordings and reference materials, that's where you'll find all of that. So if you've missed anything or you want to revisit a topic, you can find those resources there. And yeah, so camera is completely up to you guys. On or off is totally fine, but please keep your microphones muted unless you're asking a question, just to help with the background noise. The session flow, here's how today will flow. We'll keep a steady pace so we can cover everything within the hour and the time frame. So please don't hesitate to speak it up. If we need to slow down or revisit something, just let us know. Questions are absolutely encouraged. You can drop them in the chat to the side or raise your hand using the toolbar at the top of the screen. And we'll also make sure to leave some time at the end for an open Q&A. So feel free to jot questions down as they come up. Let's see here. After the session, you'll see a feedback form come through. It only takes a couple of minutes to complete, but it really does make a big difference for us. Your feedback helps shape our future training. So what topics we cover, how deep we go, and how we structure these sessions. So we truly appreciate you guys taking the time to share your thoughts, and once the session wraps up for us. Here's what we'll be covering today. We'll start with a high-level introduction to ArcGIS app builders, focusing on when and why you might choose one over the other one. Specifically, we'll look at ArcGIS StoryMaps, dashboards, instant apps, and experience builder. And then we'll wrap things up with a live discussion and Q&A so you can ask questions related to your own workflows and your projects. Today's speaker, I'm very pleased to introduce. We're joined by Will Delaney. He's a solution engineer for state and local government at ESRI, and who brings kind of a world of experience working with organizations just like ours, and we'll be walking through how to think strategically about choosing the right app builders for your needs. And we're grateful to have him with us today. And now, Will, I will hand things over to you, if that's okay.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for that great introduction. Really excited to be here today with you all and talk a little bit about these various app builders. As I understand, the last session had to do with field mobility, data collection, and editing while out in the field. So this is a bit of a carry-on to that, following up what you can do with that data once you have it collected in ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise, whichever environment you're working in, to better edit, display, and work with in that web format. So with that, I will go ahead and share my screen here, and I'll look for just a thumbs up or some sort of affirmation letting me know that you all can see this. Is anyone or everyone able to see my screen here?
Yes, you're good to go, Will.
Alrighty, perfect. So, as Ronnie mentioned, today we're going to talk a little bit about, first at a high level, what are these different app builder options? And what do you even have to work with? Beyond that, we'll dive into ArcGIS StoryMaps, ArcGIS dashboards, instant apps, and then we'll touch on Experience Builder as well. Now, most importantly, at the end, we'll talk about some of the considerations for choosing one of these different app builders, why you might pick one over another, once we have a better understanding of what each of these options is and sort of what their best use case is. So diving in right to that app builder overview, I want to start with this slide here, talking about the ArcGIS Common Patterns views. And this is one that, if you've seen an ESRI presentation, you may have seen either this exact slide or something like it, because we really like to show this, to take a step back from the technology and think about the sort of tech agnostic workflows. What are we actually trying to accomplish? These are the common patterns that we've identified are associated with GIS. Now, they might be some things you're familiar with or associate closely with GIS, like visualization and analysis, or maybe data management, but there's a whole lot more to that as well. The decision support, constituent engagement, sharing and collaboration, field mobility. So as we talk about these various app builder options, I want you all to think about these common patterns of use and how they might fit in. As I mentioned, the last session focused on field mobility, and that is one of those common patterns of use, but it's important to think about what happens with that data as it flows from that common pattern, field mobility, on to support analytics, maybe decision support, or constituent engagement. So what are the different app builder options? Well, we really have 4 choices here. And that's ArcGIS StoryMaps, dashboards, instant apps, and experience builder. So we're going to start today talking a little bit about StoryMaps, and then we'll dive into those other options. So ArcGIS StoryMaps. This is really a tool set for, as the name might suggest, telling your story. So these have been around for a while now. I want to say maybe it feels like roughly a decade, maybe a little bit longer, but this technology is really designed to allow you all to take your data and share it in a more text-heavy narrative. So thinking about not just showing the data itself, but being able to really share the story around it as well. This is a drag and drop environment. You don't have to be a developer. The beauty of this is that you can create really user-friendly, really narrative-heavy tools or applications, allowing you to share the story of your data, of your work, with the constituents or the stakeholders that you want to. Now, it comes with various templates and themes, so you're not starting with a blank slate every time. You can have a little bit of a format to start with. Very mobile friendly as well, which is important, as I think it's safe to say most of us these days are accessing applications from our phones. So this is really important as you're meeting your stakeholders kind of where they are. So for today's presentation, I want to, obviously slides are important, but I want to focus more on showing you all the actual examples and applications themselves, so you can get a better understanding of what this actually looks like in application. So with that, I want to show you all a couple examples. First, of ArcGIS StoryMaps, and these are just a couple of different examples that might have nothing to do with the work that you all are accomplishing, but just a couple of beautiful visuals to show what these can look like in action. Then we'll take a look at the back end of that as well to show you what it actually looks like to create a story map. So this here is a story map that a coworker of mine created, showing a little bit of information about how governmental bodies operate within the state of Michigan. And as we can see, this operates like many story maps. It's sort of a scrolling experience where we have some visuals, some text, and as GIS professionals, it's important to us, often some maps or geographic context. Now, what's great about these story maps, as opposed to just creating, say, a web page or a blog post, is that we can tie our GIS directly to it much easier than we would be able to with one of those other options. And as we can see here, we have this great map behind our text, but it's also fully interactive. So if we want to, we can actually engage with that visual. And you can see as we scroll through learning a little bit more about our content, we can see that map changing as well. So these visuals aren't just pretty pictures. This is actually taking our authoritative data residing in ArcGIS Online, maybe that you had collected with field maps or one of those other field mobility applications, allowing you to better share your story with your stakeholders. So this is just one example of a story map. I want to show another that looks a little bit different. And that is this Atlas of Energy Transition. We can see here very different look and feel, but we still have this kind of tab template or structure. And as we scroll through the experience, we can see we have more interactive mapping applications here. More text, more narrative, sharing the story of this data, allowing us to really dive into each one of these different topics here and learn more. But what does it look like to actually create one of these? So we're going to go here to ArcGIS Online. This is an organization that I'm a part of. And we're going to go up to this top right corner to the app launcher. And this is how we'll access all the applications or the app builders that we'll be talking about today. So we can see StoryMaps here. If we click on that, we'll see that I don't have any that I've created, but we can see all apps and groups that I'm a part of, that my organization has created, or just publicly available through ArcGIS Online. Now, if we want to create a new one, we can see here, we have these different templates that we can start with. Just create a simple story. And this will provide us with a simple framework to begin sharing information about our data. So you can see we can add a title, we can start adding some description, and then ultimately adding some images or even video, and maybe some maps as well, to ultimately create a rich web experience like this here. So ArcGIS story maps, these are really designed for you all to easily convey your stories with your stakeholders, the stories around the data. So not just sharing simple visuals, but really sharing additional information about that data. The next app builder that I want to talk about is ArcGIS Dashboards. Now this is a very different end user experience from ArcGIS StoryMaps. Thinking back to what we just talked about, you're taking your data and you want to share the story about it. With ArcGIS Dashboards, it's quite different. We want to take that data and we just want to share basically the bare essentials of it to convey certain information. And often what that looks like is simple statistics, simple visuals, and maybe some maps as well. Very similar to story maps, these are interactive, they're very flexible, highly configurable, and mobile friendly. Once again, we expect that folks are these days accessing applications not just from their laptops and from browsers, but actually from mobile devices as well. So we want to ensure that that mobile experience is fully featured and isn't driving people away from the hard work that we've done. Very similar to StoryMaps as well. This is a drag and drop environment. You don't have to be a developer or have experience with that world to be able to create a really fully featured, rich experience. So let's take a look first at an example of an ArcGIS dashboard to get a better understanding of what this actually looks like, and then we'll take you behind the scenes once again to show you what it looks like to create one. So what we're looking at here is a relatively simple dashboard that actually had taken data from mobile workflow. So folks are out in the field, they're collecting information about, in this case, trees in our community, the work that had been done on them, inspections, maintenance of these assets. And now, thinking back to those common patterns of use, we're taking that data and we're sharing it internally to better support decision making as well as constituent engagement. So what we are looking at is that data that had been collected, now presented within a dashboard. So you can see here we have a couple simple visuals sharing some information, some simple statistics about that data. The inspections completed, the number of trees in this overall inventory. We can go through each of these different assets as well and see some information on them. We can view the overall inspection and maintenance history as well. We can see down here at the bottom, we also have support for different pages. So we have some information about these trees as well as various planting areas. So what does it look like to actually create something like this? Well, we're going to go back to ArcGIS Online here, to that organization that I'm a part of. Once again, we're going to go up to that top right corner to the app launcher. And we'll go down to dashboards here. Now, what we see here is a list of all of the dashboards that I've created, as well as dashboards that I've shared. Now, I want to find that very one that I had just shown here. I believe that was the tree management dashboard. If we open that up, we'll see a very similar view to what we saw before. The only difference is now we have access to edit it. Oops. We will actually edit that dashboard. So we'll see very similar view, but we now have this little editing ribbon over on the left-hand side. So if we want to, we can add elements. Let's say maybe we want to add an additional map. Maybe we want to add some charts or graphs to show some information about maybe that work that's being accomplished. Maybe we want to show a list, maybe a list of all of those assets that have been collected, or a list of all the individuals who had worked on these items. We can also include tables, as we see at the bottom there, and within those tables, we can allow for editing as well. We can also allow for export, and this can be really important as we know a lot of folks, when they're accessing something like a dashboard, they want to be able to export that information maybe in the form of a CSV or an Excel file. We can add some rich text or details as well if we want to share a little bit more context about what folks are seeing here. Or if we want to, we can even just embed additional content if we want to add maybe some external application embedded directly within here. If we had multiple data sources as well, we could have those linked here. We could change our theme. So tailoring the branding of our application really to fit your organization's branding. As we can see here, we have a couple standard themes, but then if we wanted to, we could also create custom themes. Now, this can be really important as your organization likely wants to have a cohesive set of visuals to really share your brand or your organization and that look and feel. So if you have a custom theme that you all have created, it might be nice to have that in all of your public facing or even internal applications. So that way when someone sees this, they think of your organization, they know it's authoritative, they know it's related to your work. We can also set the specific time and region. Now this can be important if you have some information showing time here and you want to make sure that that's specific to that region. So as folks are looking at this, it's not showing, let's say the work you're accomplishing is in one area, but you expect folks in a different region to be looking at this, so you can make that fit for them. If you all use Google Analytics as well, you can attach that Google Analytic here, so that way you can actually get a better understanding of who is interacting with your dashboard as well. And then we have a save button too, so you can make sure that you've saved all your hard work. So very simple drag and drop environment. We can see we can take these various elements and move them around if we wanted to. We could remove them, add others in here, and it will ultimately make this the dashboard that we desire. So the goal of ArcGIS dashboards is really to have this easy to use, interactive way to showcase your data. Now, the next type of app builder, ArcGIS Instant Apps. The goal of these is really to have very simple and streamlined creation of applications. So what does that mean? These are quick to configure. They're still fully interactive. They are designed to meet WCAG 2.0 accessibility guidelines. Once again, mobile friendly, often very map centric as well. But unlike those other two app builders, they are starting with particular templates that are really purpose driven. So who are these for? Well, these are for a couple different personas. One, new users to GIS, folks that maybe don't have the experience with these different app builder options. They want something simple to start with. Or it could be folks, maybe seasoned GIS professionals or specialists that just want to quickly stand up an application. They know what they need. They have a need or a purpose behind what they're building their application for, and they want to just stand it up as quickly as possible. So the benefits of instant apps as opposed to these other app builders is that there's really a very low learning curve. This is the lowest barrier to entry for any of these app builders. Quickest setup as well. And as I mentioned, they're really designed to solve common GIS problems. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we look at some of the different templates. So some of these templates include capabilities to showcase a map or a 3D scene, provide some context on local information, such as allowing stakeholders to find assets or information nearby or in a particular zone, displaying collections of related content, like maybe attachments or even additional applications. And when creating an instant app, and we'll see here hands-on in a second what this looks like, but you start with a template. And those templates allow you to kind of stay on a set of guardrails, allowing you to more efficiently and swiftly stand up this application designed to tackle a specific challenge. These allow you to very quickly publish fully featured applications. Once again, mobile friendly and very interactive. You can see those changes right away. So as you're editing it, you can preview that application right there. And there's also this express mode that allows you to really step through each individual step. So that way, unlike what we saw with StoryMaps or dashboards, where you have this sort of blank slate in front of you, it might have a template, but you are in charge of dragging and dropping those various components of that user interface for that user experience. With instant apps, you're really walked through step by step, picking the theme, the colors, the branding, picking the map that you want, and ultimately walked through each of these steps to publishing your application. Now, what's nice about this as well is, as I mentioned, they are fully featured, and in that step-by-step process, in the express mode of allowing you to build that application, you can also choose what tools you want to allow users to access. So whether you want folks to be able to see a layer list or screenshot or search from within that application. But I think it'll be helpful to take a quick look at both a couple examples of instant apps, but also just see how it looks like to actually create one of these. So with that, I think you all know the drill now. We're going back to ArcGIS Online. We're going to go to the app launcher up the top here. It will now go a little bit further down to ArcGIS Instant Apps. Now, the reason I'm starting here, as opposed to with the other applications where we saw some examples first, is because you can actually sample any of these different templates directly from this interface. So what we're seeing here is the catalog allowing us to select a template to start with. So you can see here some of these different options, let's say basic media map. And if we wanted to, we could start with that template, or we could actually sample it and just see an example of what that looks like. So in this case here, we can see we have that basic viewer allowing us to interact with our data. We can see here this example has, it looks like, some charting as well. Now, if we liked this template, we could go ahead and choose it and start, but I want to show a couple of others as well. Chart Viewer is a very powerful capability, allowing you to embed charts. So similar to dashboards, where you're able to show these statistics or these charts within an application, but unlike that free form experience with a dashboard, here we have that very simple guided experience of setting up that more straightforward, simple application. For organizations that work with lots of imagery, the imagery viewer is a very popular template as well, allowing you to showcase many of your different imagery data sets. So as I mentioned, each of these templates is really purpose-driven, designed to tackle a specific GIS challenge that we see many of our users encountering, such as this case, a desire to have simply an interactive legend. Now, if we find a template that we really like, let's say we want to go with this sidebar template here. We see this, we say, this is what we'd like, we want to start with this. We can go ahead and choose this, give it a title, maybe provide some tags. When we create this application, this is where we will begin stepping through that express mode so we can start to finish, create this application. So we'll start here. We can see this list of different steps to create our app. We'll start by selecting a map. We're going to keep the theme of those trees that we saw earlier, so we'll pick one of those tree maps. And we can see as we pick that map, we're able to preview our application here. So we can quickly see what we're actually accomplishing. If we do or don't want a header, say a shortcut menu, we can see as we turn on or off any of these user interface items, we'll actually see them, say here, appear or disappear from our application. And we step through next, or we can go back through each of these different items. We're ultimately working towards creating a fully featured application. So if we're happy with the way everything looks here, we can go ahead and publish. And if we want to, we can see this is currently only shared to me, so no one else can see this. If I wanted to, I could share this to my organization or to the public, similar with any other application, ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. But if we want, we can just go ahead and launch this directly from here and see what this looks like live. So we can see we now have our sidebar experience application, allowing us to interact with our data and view this in a very simple manner. Stood up in just a couple of minutes. So this is the lowest barrier to entry application, highly configurable, but really keeping you on a set of guardrails, allowing you to, from start to finish, create your application in the simplest manner possible. Now, taking a step from Instant Apps over to ArcGIS Experience Builder. So this is a set of capabilities really allowing you to create the most configurable, most customizable web experience possible. So some of those other options we saw, StoryMaps and dashboards, you have a drag and drop environment. This is very similar with Experience Builder. Now, unlike those two examples or Instant Apps, we have a much more blank slate to work with. So that freedom can be scary as well, and it can be difficult to work with. So it's important to note that while you have the most flexibility and the most freedom, it also requires the most skill and knowledge and technical experience to be able to create that fully featured web experience. But if this is a path that you choose, this allows you, as I mentioned, to have the most freedom. So you can have multiple pages, multiple tabs within those pages. You can very easily link to other applications or embed that content. You can also create very mobile-friendly applications, whether they be 2D or 3D, even within the same application. You can have multiple widgets or capabilities within your apps as well. And these don't have to be map-centric. As with two of those examples, dashboards and instant apps, many of those options have a map as the centerpiece of our application. But unlike those two, a map doesn't have to be the centerpiece of an Experience Builder app. So these don't even have to show anything geographic. This is really allowing you to create fully featured web experiences. Think web pages that are taking your GIS data, that work that you collected maybe out in the field or store and manage, and share that in whatever format you prefer. So there are templates that you can start with, so you don't have to start from a totally blank slate. You can also create custom templates. So if your organization has a couple of standard user interfaces that you all want, sort of that standard look and feel similar to your organization's branding, you can save those within your organization. So as folks create these new Experience Builder apps, they're using that common template. So you can generate those templates yourself, or you can even find ones that others have created in ArcGIS Online. There are many different widgets that you can choose from, map-centric, data-centric, even layout items, allowing you to create this fully featured application. Whereas with instant apps, there's often really one widget or one set of actions that might be associated with a template. With an Experience Builder app, you can have as many of those features as you want. So thinking about this as opposed to instant apps are a very simple, straightforward path to creating an application that's very much on a set of guardrails. But sometimes you need a little bit more flexibility or more customization, and you want to jump off those guardrails. And that's really where Experience Builder comes in. You can link your different widgets as well. So if you want to have actions occur in a separate widget, once you've performed something in another, you can accomplish that. You can have multiple data sources as well. So you don't just have to be pulling from a single source of data. That can make these very rich applications and even quite complex. Within Experience Builder, you can also create views of your data as well. So if you want to just be working with a subset of that without having to actually create a full view back in ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Enterprise, you can accomplish that directly from the user interface here within Experience Builder. And you can create various outputs as well. So as widgets run, you can create charts, queries, or even directions based on the actions of those widgets. Now, these are very dynamic applications as well. So you can have embedded dynamic texts or calculations. So as folks interact with your web experience, visuals or text can change in response to that. Similar to these other applications, these other app builders, you can create custom themes. So once again, you can sort of apply your organization's branding and visuals to your apps. Now, as I mentioned, these allow for multi-page support. So if you want to have multiple web pages within your web experience, you can. And you can even generate applications designed to a specific screen size. So this can be really helpful if you know that most folks are maybe going to be accessing this from say a tablet or from a particular phone screen size. You can design this web experience specifically to that screen size. In the past couple of years, we also added a new Express mode, making this a little bit more of a on the guardrails experience. So starting from a template, a little bit more similar to instant apps, and allowing you to not have to start with a totally blank slate. Now, should you choose, you can go from that Express mode to the fully featured Experience Builder freeform experience, but ultimately that choice is up to you. So let's take a quick look now at Experience Builder. So we are going back to ArcGIS Online, and now we are going to look at Experience Builder. So we can see here we have many, many different applications. Sticking with the theme of the tree data management, we're going to look at this experience here. And I want to show you all what this looks like live. So this is an Experience Builder application. We can see it looks a little bit different than some of those other apps that we looked at. Namely that we have many different tabs or pages embedded within this single experience. Now you'll notice here that this is actually that same dashboard that we saw earlier. And the reason for that being, we can embed other applications within our experiences. And we see that being used quite frequently. So in this case, we have a relatively complex Experience Builder template, allowing us to embed many other applications all in one place. So in this case, this is a component of what we call an ArcGIS solution, and that is the tree management solution, allowing us to manage our publicly owned tree assets. And this component is the Tree Management Center, and that's a web experience tying many of those components together in one place. So we can see this web experience is relatively complex. We have many different embedded pages, many actions that are all tied together. But what's it look like to actually create one of these? So this is the editing view of that same web experience. We can see here over in the Pages view, we have many different pages, and those are each of these little tabs here at the top. So as we click through each of these pages, we can edit each one individually. As I mentioned, we can have multiple data sources as well. In this case, we have actually 3 within one page. If we wanted to pull in additional utility services, say a print service for custom printing, we could include that here. We can choose our layout or our theme for our layout as well. So once again, making this application fit your organization's branding and style. And most importantly, we have our set of widgets here. So allowing us to add our functions or our user interface components directly to that user interface here. And this is a drag and drop experience. So as we take any of these components, we can place them here on our screen. We can choose the style of it, and then ultimately set up both the data that governs it as well as any actions that might be associated with this component. Now, when we like what we see, we can save that and publish our experience. And then, as we saw earlier, we can also preview directly from here if we want to. Now, I did mention there is an express mode as well, and I want to quickly show what that looks like. So if we toggle this on, we'll see a little bit of a different view. So we'll see here, we have all these applications that I've created that are our experience builders. But if we toggle this on, we can see that I don't have anything that's been created with this express mode. Now, if we want to create an application with the experience builder express mode, we can, and we'll see that this is a little bit of a different look and feel. We don't have that kind of free form user experience that we had before. Instead, we're starting with these templates, a little bit more similar to instant apps, where we're starting from that sort of on the guardrails experience with one of these templates. If we choose one that we like, say this tab theme here, we can create a new application. And now from here, we can select, say, a map that we want. Allowing us to a little bit more quickly set up an application. But unlike instant apps, we can govern many of the actions behind the scenes on these different widgets. So we have a much more free form and more powerful set of capabilities available to us. Now, if I like my application, once again, I can save that and publish it, ultimately allowing us to create those fully featured web experiences. As with these other applications that I've shown, these are mobile friendly, but unlike the others, these are the most customizable, most configurable set of capabilities. So with all of that said, what are some of the considerations that you should have when choosing what app builder you want to work with? So far, we've talked about ArcGIS StoryMaps, ArcGIS dashboards, instant apps, and now experience builder. So how do we pick between those four? What's the right app builder for us? Well, when deciding what app builder to work with, it's really helpful to first consider these four factors: your purpose, maybe your data, design and customization, your audience, who is actually going to be engaging with this, and at the center, and most important, you, the app creator, the person that's actually building and designing this thing. So before you start building your app, it's always a good idea to just clearly define your purpose for this application. Determine those high-level goals that your app should accomplish, like maybe communicating a status, answering questions, streamlining workflows, telling a story, giving context to data, engaging with the public, or collecting data. Thinking back to one of those first slides that I showed, those GIS common patterns of use. Showcase your maps. All app builders can incorporate maps. ArcGIS Instant Apps offers purpose-driven templates that showcase 2D and 3D maps with different layouts and tools like editing, swipe tools, time sliders, insets, and more. ArcGIS Experience Builder also has some map-centric templates that guarantee some ease of use and provide a little bit more opportunity for users to interact with 2D and 3D maps. Provide data interaction. ArcGIS Instant Apps has several templates that allow users to interact with data on a map with symbology, images, charts, and even time-enabled or ranked features. Additionally, users can select a location on a map and view information in close proximity. If you'd like your users to interact with data in a dashboard, you can also explore dashboards or Experience Builder. If you're communicating status, ArcGIS dashboards provide, as we saw, a very focused single-page app for communicating real-time status and information. These dashboards can also be embedded into other builders, as we saw with that Experience Builder example where we had a dashboard embedded. Experience Builder also has a dashboard template, so you could start there if you wanted further customization. And then let's say you need to tell a story. If you want to tell a story or provide a little bit more context around your data, ArcGIS StoryMaps has just about everything you need to create those digital stories that can really inspire or inform. Through maps, embedded apps, narrative text, images, and other media, you can create an app that provides really meaningful context to your work. You can create stories, articles, presentations, reports, even blogs or briefings, case studies with that app builder. Now, if you want to kind of unify your apps and content into one place, apps created with Experience Builder can be really versatile, as we saw with that last example. If you need to combine multiple workflows, sort of integrate your applications, embed content, then ArcGIS Experience Builder is probably your best option. You can also use ArcGIS Instant App templates like the portfolio or category gallery to showcase different types of related to ArcGIS content. Create and reorder some of those sections that users can navigate to view maps, scenes, your other applications, maybe even PDFs, video, or image files. Now, if you're collecting data, if you're looking to actually allow users to collect data directly from your application, all of the app builders can embed smart forms like ArcGIS Survey 123. Instant Apps also allows for editing, as does Experience Builder and dashboards now. Now, who's your audience? Are they experts in the field? Are they, say, executives within your organization? Maybe citizens, the public? Other factors to consider are where they'll interact with it. Will it be viewed on laptops? Will it be on mobile devices? And even if it's on mobile devices, is it going to be a tablet or more screen real estate, or a relatively small phone screen? To best understand which app builder will support your audience's requirements, I'll show you a little functionality matrix at the end. Now, once you have a clearer understanding of your app's purpose and audience, it might be a little bit easier to identify the layout, style, and features that your app will need. A few app builder features include 3D data, imagery, attachments, editing, and data collection. Other branding-related features like custom colors, fonts, CSS, symbology, or custom URL, or embedding, allow for layout customization for each app that you decide to create. And this functionality matrix here on the next slide contains a short list of features that each app builder provides. So we can see here, let's say you need support for multiple full-featured pages. That might narrow down which of these options you want. Maybe you want to allow for data collection. Well, they can all do that. Let's say you want to be able to have that drag and drop experience. We can see here that narrows it down further. Now, as we're thinking about some of these capabilities, it's also really important to think about who's actually creating this. Your capacity and your knowledge of GIS technology will play a really big role in making app decisions. Your skill and design choices will help guide some of your decision in selecting the right tool. So thinking about your current knowledge of the data and tools available, how much time you have to complete a project, or maybe your desire to just learn new technology and your individual sort of style choices and flair. So you can really select an app builder based on its customization capabilities and your familiarity with the product. If you're looking to create an intuitive web app for a specific purpose in as little as, say, 5 minutes, Instant Apps might be your best choice. Express Mode also offers that minimum set of essential choices that you need to consider to configure and publish a well-functioning app as efficiently as possible. You can also use a full set of mode with additional configurations to design your instant app. StoryMaps offers a very stylish, kind of modern set of designs and elements such as cover pages and themes, allowing you to really tell that kind of narrative around your data. Dashboards can be designed for specific audiences or maybe events or situations. With multiple structure and design options, you can really take dashboards from good to great, including those visualization tools, maps, lists, charts, and gauges to share your data. An experience builder, you can start with a focus, say, map-centric template. You have a little bit less time for creating your app, or if you need to recreate maybe an old web app builder application that you were using. And if you have more time and coding skills, you also maybe might want to build more custom widgets, say, to extend your application utilizing the developer edition of ArcGIS Experience Builder. There's really no correct choice at the end of the day for which app builder you choose to work with. It'll really depend on the purpose of your application, what data you have, your audience's requirements, and of course, what level of design and customization you need, as well as your own set of skills and knowledge and familiarity with these tools. So with all of that said, there is no wrong choice. Ultimately, the choice is yours. And if you feel comfortable with the app builder that you're working with, go forth and build some great web applications. So I know we have just a couple minutes left for questions, but I really appreciate your time. With that, are there any questions?
Anyone, any questions? I went ahead and I posted your guys' contacts too in the chat for everyone. I know it's a lot of information for everybody. It's just, this was to showcase kind of everything that you guys had to offer, because there's just so much that they can do. I know a lot of our attendees and stuff do a lot with mapping, and they do so much, and it's very intricate. And so I think them being able to have the contacts and kind of be able to contact you and kind of have it you guys apply to what you are doing, please reach out to them. They are so helpful, and they can help you kind of navigate kind of what you're doing and make it a lot easier. I know because there is so much to offer, it does seem like a lot, but Will and Joe and Eli are both really great at helping you guys simplify kind of what you need and kind of direct to make things easier for you. So thank you very much, Will, for today. Again, any last minute comments or questions from anyone that might help anyone else out? No, not so much.
Actually, we'll put a quick link into the chat as well, because I know I covered a lot of content today, and it can be a little bit overwhelming deciding where to start. So I'm just going to put a link into the chat, or 2 links, for free training resources. So one will just be many free tutorials, and from that webpage, you can go down and actually find free tutorials for each one of these different app builders, as well as many other topics. And the other is the ESRI Academy, which has both free and some instructor-led courses, allowing you to walk through very similar training content.
Great. Thank you so much, Will. I appreciate it. All your time and everything, and taking the time to kind of reach out to us and do that presentation. So you guys have a great program going, and I think it'll be useful for everybody. So thank you, guys. Everyone, please look out for your feedback forms that I will be sending out. Please submit questions that you have, whether it regards to ESRI directly or anything else through ArcGIS, and we'll try and track down all those answers for you. and get them so then that way can help you guys with your workflows. And look forward or look out for the information for February. We'll be doing another training for you guys. We have 3 left for this series. So stay tuned and let me know too. You guys can reach out to me if you have any questions at all for anything. So thank you guys again. Have a great day.
Thank you guys.
Thanks all. Take care.